Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen. My lovely assistant, Miss Sharon, and I greet you. And today we are featuring Chapter 10 in Tuppy Diggers entitled Marco.
I love when
Without
you do that with that.
no being silly unless you're sincere.
Okay.
All right, Marco. Grade 6, Youngstown Elementary, West Edmonton, Alberta, 1970. A two-story rectangular school, no outstanding features. It was there to do a job. Contained 500 brats and keep them from spilling onto the streets except at controlled times and maintain order. Not an easy task. However, the school overlords could call on a few tricks that have since gone the way of the world. Hegemony. School staff held dominance over its charges. No phone calls to parents were made as employees of the rectangular box had complete say in matters of instruction and crowd control. Discipline could be doled out in any manner, at any time, by anyone. Even the janitor commanded respect. Every teacher had the dreaded strap in their desk.
Oh, yikes. I remember that strap.
Don't we? September, a start of any school year, brought with it a certain melancholy. 2 months of freewheeling summer vacation had ground to a quick halt, and the smell of freshly purchased, heavily advertised, back to school supplies served as a reminder you were a word of the state. Have fun. Into the fray we were thrown. Not many days into that sixth year of scholarly mediocrity, a pecking order was established. Atop the pyramid of power and holding sway with alacrity and a keen sense of jurisprudence was the principal. The head honcho, the big cheese, the grand poobah, the man. To be sent, or called via intercom, to the principal's office was grounds for the collective ooze of your classmates, as a summons to the man could only mean one thing: discipline. Principal did not roam the halls looking for trouble makers. No, he calmly sat in his workplace and let the miscreants come to the mountain. Next power rung was the coterie of teachers. I use the term loosely, as I have only been exposed to one truly exceptional teacher in 12 years of Western Canadian public schools. The axiom is true: those that can do, those that can't, well, you know the rest of it.
Oh, no.
I know. On eggshells here. Yes, there are many great teachers. Don't let your panties become totally bunched. My experience was probably not the norm. If you are a teacher, strive to be the one of the grand few that makes a difference. Now, where was I? Any teacher at any time could grab you by the collar and march you to her desk for a round with the strap. This thick piece of reinforced black rubber looked like a slice off an old conveyor belt. Two codgers in the back of some dank warehouse stare at a mountain of conveyor belt. One rubs a whiskered chin and asks the other, "What on earth are we going to do with this heap?" "Don't know. Suppose it could be cut up and used to beat kids with?"
Gee, Whitakers.
"I reckon so." One phone call to a relation on the school board, and they laugh all the way to the bank. Bastards. Any adult that formed part of the staff could mete out a measure of reprimand from verbal to physical. Vice principal, janitor, secretary, passing pizza delivery guy. There were plenty of grown ups ready and willing to do what your mother and father did on a regular basis. Some took the responsibility seriously and attacked it with a certain gusto, while others were more hesitant in their delivery. Final area that had command of life and death in the pecking order of scholastic power and was always there to monitor your every move was a group to be feared and respected the most: fellow students. Grade 6 classmates were the revered leaders in this demi-monde of kids that ranged from grade 1 through 6. Amongst this rabble stood one. His voice was law. Clear was his vision, and woe be unto any lesser being that would oppose or stand in the way of his brawn. Like any man of destiny, he had his detractors and bevy of envious minions, those that would do his bidding and those that would quietly plot his downfall, but never summon the backbone to rise to the occasion. Fear of reprisal kept them from whispering hushed stratagems and nothing more. This chairman of the board came with a faithful sidekick, Randy S., Chief Executive Officer. Mr. S. wielded the same muscle and firepower as his boss, but sorely lacked the gray matter that would have put him in the same category as Marco Litviak. Ukrainian by heritage, Canadian by birth, Marco was the sixth and final boy of the Litviaks. His 5 older brothers were consummate overachievers, Golden Gloves boxing champions, track and field superstars, acknowledged scholars, and accomplished bon vivants. Most pursued careers in medicine, spurred on by hardworking immigrant parents that were in Canada to make a better life. Marco's physical ability flowed from a stream of osmosis. A life of observing his older brothers and striving to live up to those standards made him the man he was. And he had a big head. Really, his noggin was huge.
Oh my goodness.
A pumpkin sat atop his shoulders, out of proportion. What does one do with a big head? Sport a brush cut, of course. Flat top of hair with crisp corners made the melon appear more like a wedge than a cranium. Nice. Big, a triangular block was his crowning glory. Marco, as top dog, and Randy, his loose cannon companion, ruled grade 6. As for me, a bespectacled, skinny, underdeveloped goof, I had neither the physical prowess of a Randy nor the commanding presence of a Marco. My talents lay elsewhere. For now, I observed the dynamic of playground and class, amended my behavior accordingly. Name of the game was survival. A fella has to make an informed decision to work with the system or against it. You have to serve somebody. It may be the Marco, or it may be the man, but you have to serve somebody. Few weeks into the new school year, time to make a decision. Choose which clique of kids was to be one's mainstay and which would be acquaintances. History will bear me out. Many great figures from the annals of time, when faced with the same dilemma, have kept their friends close, but their enemies closer. A means of self-preservation. Marco and Randy would become my friends. They just didn't know it yet. I had a powerful weapon. One I could summon at the snap of a finger. Devastating was its power. There was no defense. Try as you may, I could unleash my mastery, and you were in my spell. Marco and Randy were about to receive a taste of my rapier wit. With bellies bouncing merrily, their fists would be powerless. Hey, Four Eyes, why don't you trot over here and run into my fist? Randy and Marco were in the playground enjoying a recess of random taunting. Most gave a wide berth. Their latest barb was aimed at me. I quickly replied, "Does that punch come in a bunch or served hot for lunch?"
Oh, gee.
They looked at each other for a clue as to how one should react to an assault on their brain power. Seeing their temporary hesitation, I notched it to the next level, forced my advantage. Which word didn't you understand? I'll spell it out for you
Oh!
slowly. Could have gone either way, but it went mine. Three of us shared our first of many hearty guffaws. They had been missing it all along. The third stooge. Welcome to the fold. Marco and Randy appreciated my command of smart-assed commentary. It was my job to make sure the tap always flowed. I was prepared. Had trained my whole life for this role. Hours in front of a full-length mirror honed my craft. Body language, manipulation of face and hands to convey the most subtle of delivered quips in a manner that will be received in the intended way the master desires. I was 12, at the top of my game. Either that or I had inherited a funny gene. Hanging with Marco and Randy meant I ran with the big dogs. Certain things were expected. I could not force them to be something they were not. They had evolved into the position of school bulldogs by a combination of myth and fact. Story circulated that Marco, as a fourth grader, had put up with the ridicule of some sixth grade toughs. Questions of his heritage were raised. Outnumbered and outmuscled, the young Ukrainian put up with a number of slurs. When filled to the brim, rumor has it, Marco let his juvenile yet well-trained right fist make contact with the main mouthpiece's jaw. Out cold.
Ooh.
Rarely seen on a playground, since then his legend grew. How could it not?
Exactly.
Randy was one of the unpredictable types that came from a home on the wrong side of the tracks. If you nudged his hair trigger, he could go off in your face. Not pretty. Playground politics dictate one thing: a power void cannot exist. Marco and Randy filled the top dog, grade 6 role with an easygoing swagger that served to keep everyone sharp. Alternative would be a school full of dullards. Kids with no idea how to react to a world of volatility that wouldn't always take time to coddle and nurture. You know, the real world. I too, as the third stooge, had to play my part. First order of business: high stakes gambling, where the house always wins and we were the house. Before, after school, and recess, these were times for marbles, exclusive domain of boys. Physical prowess meant nothing. This was a level playing field. Brief tutorial for the uninitiated. Game is one-on-one. Walk up to a boy at recess and say, "Marbles?" To which he would almost always reply, "Okay." Reach into your pocket, grab a marble, and throw it about 10 feet away. Other goes down on one knee with his marble cupped in forefinger and resting on thumbnail, gives his marble a flick in hopes that it will scoot across the uneven ground and hit the other marble. Take turns. Whoever hits the other marble first keeps the opponent's. Simple. In a 15-minute recess, you can play a dozen games with 2 or 3 adversaries. On a hot streak, you might come away with 3 more marbles than you went in with. Serious punters kept a bag of marbles tied to their belt. High stakes marbles was a stroke of genius. I'd like to take credit for it, but the truth is the inventor is lost to the sands of time. Maybe it spread from another schoolyard. Either way, it took the place by storm. Marco, Randy, and I had the chutzpah to corner the action.
Oh my goodness.
Need a shoebox. Cut a small, square hole in the lid slightly bigger than the largest marble. Place the shoebox on the ground with the lid on and invite your opponent, to stand over the box. He holds the marble next to his eye and drops it towards the little hole. Why would he want to do that? Because of the payout. Drop a marble through the hole and you collect 5. Miss and you lose the marble to the house. Simple. Even the most skilled will miss 9 out of 10 times. Odd time they hit and collect, that was enough of a rush to keep them coming back. We showed up with a box, had a crowd of kids yelling at the player to hurry up and finish as everybody wanted a turn. Sporadic victory of a lucky dupe kept the action hot. They all wanted that rush of a marble going through and collecting 5-to-1 odds.
Oh, yeah.
Expand or die. Next day, we had 3 boxes. Action hummed. We had players losing every marble in their pockets in a single round. Some lost interest when they were bust. Others showed up the next day with more glass balls fresh from the department store. One enterprising young buck showed up with his own box. All it took was a visit from Randy. Usually started with a simple query. What the hell do you think you're doing?
Oh my God.
That was all it ever took. Order restored. World was our oyster. Action sizzled, crowded each pot. Steelies paid double. If you had within your possession one of the rare metal chrome balls and were lucky enough to sink it, you won 10 marbles and your steely back. Crowd of boys at each play station was magnetic and drew the attention of a couple of curious gals. Grade 6 mandate. You don't play with girls. Period. A few girls showed up the next day with new sacks of marbles. Fresh meat. We had decimated the male population of most of their glass balls. Under duress, we acquiesced. Girls could play. They did fairly well, but at the end of the day, the house always wins. They were not gracious. They knew the odds. They knew the risks. They kept dropping marbles. No one held a gun to their heads. 2 days later, crackly intercom in the corner of our class announced, would Marco, Litviak, Randy S., and Monty McGale proceed to the principal's office? Chorus of oohs saw us out and down the hall.
Oh, you were in trouble.
Principal was a man rarely seen, sometimes in the halls, not on the playground, mostly his office. My first encounter, despite the outcome, was not altogether unpleasant. He was calm and rather businesslike, not too big of stature. I'm sure the 3 of us could have dispatched him without resorting to our extraordinary talent at administering eye gouges, ricochets, gaunch pulls, snake bites, headlocks, or noogies. The man asked for an explanation of our playground activities of the last 2 weeks. We practically fell over each other, giving a detailed description of our clever ploy to part boys from marbles. And girls, he added. When we were done talking, he matter-of-factly stated that for the infraction of operating a gambling facility on school property, we were to receive the strap and cease our game of chance.
Oh no.
4 strikes per hand.
Oh, ouch, ouch, ouch.
He held the wrist of his victim with one hand and brought the strap down on the open hand of each perp. 4 whacks, each palm. That smarts. We took our licking like the mini-men we were, stoically. Leaving the office, we compared rosy palms, assured each other how it didn't hurt, no, not one bit. Then a mutual harangue of girls' evil and how no good could come from the devil's spawn. Back in class, we took our seats and listened to the lesson at hand. Could have been math. My mind was elsewhere on the pain in my vibrating hands. Damn, that hurt a lot. We had a good run. Almost 2 weeks of unencumbered monopoly of the marble trade brought us a stash of orbs that we hid in Randy's garage. Was surprised the principal didn't ask for them back. And those girls. I knew one of the girls all too well. She was a stalker. Her name, Barbara Case. How did I know this? I was her hapless victim. Having started school younger than most of my classmates usually put me at a size disadvantage, and having a 12-year-old girl in the flush of first womanhood as your stalker could only lead to sparks. No matter what I did to dissuade her, and I tried, Barbara thought I was cuter than a pink puppy wrapped in a red ribbon. I I thought she was pudgy, dodgy, and the furthest thing from a woman I could imagine. Icky. At least once a week, she chased me home after school. Barbara was bigger and faster than me. Whenever the mood struck, she pounced and brought me down with a tackle. Torment began. Sitting on my belly with her weight advantage, Barbara had me pinned. My skinny arms held over my head by one of her strong hands, I squirmed like a trapped weasel. Barbara kissed my face as I screamed for the authorities to shoot her, or me, or both. Then the big guns. Barbara's unfair advantage. She rendered me into a pile of useless preteen boy by tickling me. Laughing and wiggling and absolutely powerless to fight back, she lorded over me for the better part of an eternity. Then she'd run off, leaving me in a heap on somebody's front lawn. I felt dirty, cheap, and tawdry. Good times. I was a man with Marco and Randy. With Barbara, a rag doll. My desk at school was a receptacle of her love. Amorous notes and candies were deposited on a regular basis. Grab the latest missive from my desk and read it. Smitten Barbara 2 rows away, batting her eyelashes, I respond with a face of contorted horror. Seemed to inflame her ardor even more. This is the girl we highly suspected of breaking up our super lucrative 2-week gambling empire. Feelings ran strong. I was no fool. I ate her candy. Didn't have to like it, but I did. Damn me. Could have told Randy of my plight and let his fists, boots, elbows talk some sense into her love-struck bosom, but no. My lot was to suffer. Playground was no longer hallowed. No hive of activity around 3 merry men. No high rollers willing to risk it all on the drop of a marble. 2 weeks of an empire, and now kids dispersed about the place with no real focus. Monkey bars saw some clamoring. Young students ran about or wrestled. Some even played mundane marbles. Depressing. We were down from our high and needed a fix. And there it was. James Trussell's, a ginger. His pasty skin and red hair were a beacon that drew our stares from across the field. Freckles and a flat nose, almost Chinese eyes, and faint eyebrows made him look akin to a salamander. James the Newt Trussell's was in for a surprise.
Oh, no, you mean boys.
As we approached his gingerness, our course of action became evident. There it was, telltale mark of a rookie in the game of life. Unmistakable ring of elastic that said, hey, I'm here for the taking. If you don't do it, someone else will, but please go easy. Where the hell am I? There we go. Band of elastic at the top of his pants said all that and then some. Who tucks their shirt into their gaunch? Who? James did, and he was about to be schooled. One simply does not leave a 360-degree band of underwear exposed at the top of one's pants. Sheesh! 30 feet from our prey, the play was announced. Superatomic flying wedgie. Marco spoke and gave orders. Randy, take the front. I've got the rear, and Monty, stabilize the newt. Roger that. James didn't know what hit him. Powerhouse tag team of Marco and Randy had hold of his gaunch, front and rear. I hugged him from the side to prevent his twigs from flailing. Sidebar. An understanding of the superatomic flying wedgie and its dynamic undertones needs to be interjected at this point. Simple wedgie is just that, brief maneuver meant to convey surprise to the recipient, and his underwears quickly tugged up his backside, producing the aptly described wedgie into his Krakatoa. Great way to start the day. An atomic wedgie means your cojones are definitely bigger than your victims, as you are man enough to approach head on and grab a handful of cotton while looking your victim in the eye, pulling Gaunch tight against his beanbag, strength play if ever there was one.
Oh, you guys are so bad.
Combine both front and rear assaults, and if your victim's feet fly off the ground, well, that's super. End of sidebar. Marco and Randy quickly established a rhythmic tugging motion on Newt Boy's gaunch as his feet dangled 2 inches from solid ground. This escalated into a deep sawing motion that made Mr. Trussler's face perform a myriad of contortions. Squirming was futile, as James was endowed with the strength of a small amphibian. When it was deemed sufficient, he was let loose. James made a running beeline for the end of the playground, his tattered ginch and rim of elastic in disarray.
Oh, poor kid. You're so bad.
Part of a great caper is the post-operative breakdown of its pieces, reliving the details, even if it is 2 minutes after the fact. Comments were bandied, and each player's role was thrown open for group discussion. Thought that chainsaw action you guys got into, what was that all about? I had planted another seed that bore fruit. Superatomic flying chainsaw wedgie was born. A new chapter entered the great book of history. James ran from the playground and down the street to his house, changed his destroyed gaunch, and was back at school a few minutes late for class. When grilled as to his tardiness, said he had to run home, might have forgotten to let the family's cat out. Good man. We noted his shirt was properly tucked in. Better man. A few days later, we were at James's house. Invited us to share a stash. We enjoyed a sugar high as each managed to finish a box of Jello powdered with the inserted licked finger method. Newt Boy was all right.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe we befriended you guys after that.
Closer, enemies closer. An initiated acquaintance that proved his mettle by not being a squealer. I had walked by Marco's place many times and never knew he lived there. Through the haphazard hedges and trees, you caught glimpses of shiny things. Colored bits and pieces lurked beyond the bush. My curiosity was about to be sated. Moment you entered Litviak's yard, you knew something wasn't normal. Marco's household was unlike anything I had ever been party to. I entered the sanctum with Marco from the back alley gate. There it was. Everything. Not garbage. Yard was full of stuff, an assault on the eyes, information overload. To inventory the contents was like asking someone to write a dictionary. Where to start? Wheelchairs and pieces of wheelchairs, and not necessarily next to each other. Wooden crates and unicycles, engines, both big and small, industrial tools of every dimension and size, various cuts of lumber and piles of tiles, picture frames and big copper kettles, tires and rims, free weights and punching bags, homemade exercise equipment, and a vast array of cool stuff that had me mesmerized.
Oh my goodness. What do you do with all that junk?
Everything. By the back door of the house, a shade tree did an admirable job of sheltering a beat-up dining table and numerous chairs. Marco's mum appeared at the back door, a bundle of energy. With her sturdy frame wrapped in a floral dress and well-worn apron, she was the picture of a happy homemaker. We were warmly greeted and told to sit at the outdoor table. Her English was top-notch and liberally padded with an engaging accent. Mrs. Litviak reappeared with a gallon pail of vanilla ice cream and 2 spoons. "Now eat."
Oh my goodness.
We dug into the half-melted, three-quarter full bucket. "You must eat all. Yes, fridge to defrost." Half-hour later, we worked on the warm dregs and felt a tad full. Satisfied, a job well done. I kept looking around at all the cool stuff in the yard. Marco's 5 older brothers were into everything you could imagine. Free rein was given to all flights of fancy. Tour of Marco's bedroom was equally revealing. Shelves on each wall started at the floor and went as high as possible. Beds were incidental to books.
Oh my goodness.
Upon closer examination, all books were school texts. Older brothers had managed to steal just about every book from every grade on every subject. Bravo!
Oh my goodness.
Put 2 and 2 together. Odd time homework was assigned. I lugged the proper tome home, while Marco just checked it out of his personal library and showed up the next day with the finished assignment folded in his pocket. Very efficient. Marco was a genius. A fun-loving, gregarious, take-no-prisoners, super-confident genius. I could learn a thing or two from him.